Hello guys, up till now what we have seen is we have looked at a few digital logic circuits where we implemented those circuits in terms of logic gates. But what are these logic gates? These logic gates are made from transistor, diodes and resistances. So in this chapter we'll see how do we implement these logic gates using different components, and then we'll tend to compare the performance by using different constructions for these logic gates. That is, suppose I make this logic gate from diodes and resistors, and again I make this using transistors. Then what will be the difference in performance of the two constructions that we are using? So these will be called as logic families based on the construction that we use for each and every gate. Different families would be defined for each gate. So actually in digital always there are integrated circuits, which is called as IC. IC means integrated circuit. What does an integrated circuit means? That is, more than one component is fabricated on a single chip or a single silicon wafer. Okay, more than one component will be fabricated on a single silicon wafer. It is called as integrated circuit. So based on how many number of gates are you fabricating per unit area, the density of the chip will vary. We definitely want that the chip density should be high. That is, I must be able to pack more and more components in a smaller area. Then only the size of the devices would get reduced. If you see now, the size of the device is getting reduced. Okay, that is why, because we are packing more and more number of gates in a single chip, so we are reducing the area of the chip. Based on that, we define certain integration level like SSI, small scale integration. It has almost 12 chips or 12 gates per chip. Okay, it has 12 gates per chip. It is small scale integration. Then we have medium scale integration. Okay, similarly we will have large scale integration. Then we will have very large scale integration. Okay, then we will have ultra large scale integration. This sort of integration is increasing, and what is varying is number of gates per chip. So number of gates per chip is increasing year by year. So we are getting smaller and smaller devices, and we are getting higher performance. Okay, so that is how we design the integrated circuits, and we will see based on the components that we are using to design an integrating circuit how much performance would vary from family to family. Logic families will be based on what components are we using for the construction of gates. So in this lecture what we will see is, we will see some general characteristics that would differentiate between each logic family. That is, if you want to know which logic family is better and which is worse, then you need certain parameters. You need certain parameters on which you can judge whose performance is better, or we need certain performance parameters. Okay, performance indices or performance parameters. So those performance parameters we will see in this lecture. So first performance parameter is called as propagation delay. So if you see, output of an inverter will look something like this. Here A is the input and Y is the output. So Y is of the opposite logic level as compared to A. As A goes from low to high, Y goes from high to low. A goes from high to low, Y goes from low to high. But the process is not instantaneous, because if the transistors or the inverter is made using transistors and diodes, then there will be certain stored charge present in diodes and transistors, and that stored charge will take some time to get depleted. Okay, so device takes a certain time to respond. It cannot respond to the change in input instantaneously, rather it takes certain time, which is called as propagation delay. The time taken when the output goes from high to low, okay, here output is going from high to low, this time is called as TPHL. Okay, propagation delay from high to low. Similarly, when output goes from low to high, it will be called as TPLH. Okay, these propagation delay are coming because of the stored charges in the diodes and transistor. Therefore, the transistor and diode will take certain time to switch their state. Okay, if the transistor is going from on state to off state, it will take certain time due to the stored charge in the transistors. So these values will be different going from low to high and from high to low. So how to define propagation delay? We will define propagation delay as average of these two, TPLH plus TPHL upon 2. Okay, because we want to specify a single value, so we will specify it as the average of these two values. Okay, next thing is that how do we measure this TPHL and TPLH? We measure based on 50% of the logic value. Suppose this is 5 volt, this is 0 volt. So I will see what time does it take to reach 2.5 volt. So this 2.5 volt line I have drawn here. Similarly, in the output we will draw 2.5 volt line, and we will see what is the delay between these two lines. That will be called as TPLH. So we will use 50% criteria. That is, we will see the voltage at 50% of the maximum value. When the voltage is at 50% of the maximum value, we will find the delay between input and the output. Okay, and this delay will be measured in nanosecond. This is generally specified in terms of nanosecond. So here you need to remember three things. First, propagation delay is average of high to low delay and low to high delay. Next, propagation delay will be measured based on the 50% criteria, that is time difference between 50% of the output value and the 50% of the input value. Last thing is that propagation delay is always measured in nanoseconds. Okay, so we want our circuits to be faster. That means propagation delay should be as small as possible. So propagation delay should be low, otherwise logic would be slower. So faster the logic, less is the propagation delay. But next term comes is power dissipation. So power dissipation is what? It will be simply voltage source into average current supplied by the voltage source. Generally, if you have observed the chips that you have used in the labs or in the colleges, if you have seen, you use certain gates, then there is always a voltage terminals. One is the VCC, one is the ground, where we connect our supply voltage. Then only that chip can work. Okay, though we do not show any voltage terminals or the supply terminals in the logic circuits, like I'll just show AND gate something like this. But to function, this AND gate needs some supply. This will be VCC, this will be ground. So this needs some supply. So what I am saying is, how much power it is consuming is this voltage into the current, average value of the current that is supplied by this voltage source. That will be called as power dissipation. So what happens is, suppose you increase this voltage level. If VCC increases, then actually my propagation delay decreases. But what it will cause is, it will cause power dissipation to increase. So faster the logic, more power does it dissipate. Okay, so biggest challenge in the VLSI industry is to design logic circuits such that it consumes less power and it exhibits more speed. That is the biggest challenge, because we want our circuits to be of low power, as low as possible, and we want them to be operating at higher speeds. Now if you take the example of the mobile phone, the biggest challenge that the mobile industry is facing right now is how to increase the lifetime of the battery, because we know our smartphone generally discharges within 24 hours, so we have to recharge it. But if someone comes up with a technology so that smartphone battery can last for 3-4 days, then every user will tend to like it. But at the same time, we will want our phone to be fast. Suppose if we are messaging in WhatsApp, I don't want that my message should go after 5 minutes. I want it to reach instantaneously. That is, performance of the phone should not suffer even if power dissipation is being reduced. So we want the performance should be good on both the sides. Power dissipation should be less, as well as speed should be higher. But always there is a trade-off between these two quantities. So somewhere we have to settle down. If you keep on increasing the speed, then power dissipation will also keep on increasing, which is an undesirable condition. So we will make a trade-off at certain value where both are within the satisfactory limits, where I am satisfied with both the speeds as well as the power dissipation. So how to optimize these two is, we define something called as figure of merit. So this figure of merit is defined as product of dissipated power into propagation delay. Okay, so we want this thing to be minimum. We want to minimize the figure of merit so that power dissipation and the speed, power dissipation reduces and speed increases. Okay, so remember I2L logic family, that is integrated injection logic, integrated injection logic, this logic family has best figure of merit. Okay, integrated injection logic has the best figure of merit, and this will be measured in joule because power in watt and this is in second, it will be in joule. So this is how we tend to optimize the power dissipated in a circuit and the speed of the circuit. Okay, so this product should be minimized. Next parameter that we see is called as fan out. Fan out is basically how many logic gates can be driven by one logic gates connected to its output. Now if you see here, the output of a NAND gate is connected to these two gates. So I want to know how many NAND gates I can connect at the output of this NAND gate. Whether I can connect 2, 3, 4, 5, how many I can connect. Because when this NAND gate will be on, it will be sourcing some current into these gates. That means I want to know how much current it can source. Because each gate would be requiring certain current. So I want that it should be able to drive more and more number of gates. If it is able to drive more and more number of gates, then basically I can keep more loading at the output of the NAND gate. I want to connect more and more load. That means fan out should always be high. The desirable condition is fan out should be high. Fan out is the number of logic gates that can be driven by a single logic gate. So what happens when the output is high? When output is high, that is 1, then this gate supplies the current and these two gates will absorb the current. Okay, so these two will be absorbing and the input gate will be supplying. That is why current directions are as shown. So basically IOH is the output current of the gate in the high state. When the output is high, the amount of current that the gate is supplying is called as IOH. Okay, it is the output current when the output is high. Next is IIH. It is the input current when the input is high. So the input to these gates is high. So the current that is going into these gates will be called as IIH. IIH is the input current of the gate when it is high. Okay, then IOL. When what happens is, when the output is low, then this gate will not deliver the current, rather it will absorb the current. Okay, when output is 1, it delivers, so it is acts as a source. When output is 0, it absorbs the current, so it acts as a sink. Okay, it will be called as sink because it is absorbing the current. So when it is absorbing the current, or when the output is low, current directions will be like this. This will be absorbing and these two gates will be delivering. So IOL is the output current of the gate when the output is low. Similarly, IIL is the input current of the gate when the input is low. So if you take an example of the high state, suppose 10 ampere is going here and each gate is requiring 1 ampere. Then in how many gates it can go? It can go into 10 gates. So one gate can drive 10 gates. So that is why we will define fan out as high state is, it will be IOH over IIH. Similarly, in low states, or in the when the output is low, this fan out can be defined as IOL by IIL. Okay, but we want a single value of the fan out. We want the fan out to be having a single value. We will not specify fan out high and fan out low. So what we will do is we will take minima of these two value. Okay, whatever is the minimum value, that we will specify as the fan out. So fan out will be minimum of the low state fan out and the high state fan out. So this fan out term is very important because it can be derived numerically. The value of fan out is basically output high current upon input high current in high state and output low current upon input low current in the low state. Fan out is the maximum number of logic gates that can be driven by a given logic gate. When the output is high, the gate acts as a source. When the output is low, the gate acts as a sink. Try to remember the meaning of these terms IOH, IOL, IIH and IIL. Okay, because though the number of questions from this topic are very rare, but still if the question can be asked, fan out can be asked directly and it can be asked in a 1 mark question. So you need to remember the meaning of these terms. IOH is the output current of the gate in high state. IIH is the input current of the gate in the high state. Okay. Next thing is that when I told you about the differences between analog and digital, why we prefer digital, I told you that it is better immune to the noise. So I want to know how much immunity does my circuit has from the noise. Because since we are working in electromagnetic domain or electronic circuits, electromagnetic noise can be induced in the circuit. So I want to know how much noise is tolerable by the circuit, or what is the noise margin of the circuit, means how much noise can it tolerate. So we will define a term called as noise margin. Noise margin is basically the maximum noise that does not affect the output of the system. Noise which has no effect on the output. The maximum noise that has no effect on the output will be called as noise margin. Okay. So there are certain terms that are defined. First is VOH, output voltage when output is high. Okay, output voltage in the high state is called as VOH. Similarly, VIH, it is the input voltage in high state. Okay, that is, this is the minimum voltage that is required for the input to be recognized as high. Suppose I define 0 volt and 5 volt as the logic levels, but I will say if the input is between 3.5 up to 5 volt, then I will say that the logic is 1. If the input is between 0 to 2 volt, I will say that the logic is 0. So I am defining certain levels like 5 volt, 0 volt. So I will never have that 5 volt is exactly logic 1. I will specify certain range. Let us say this range. This is 3.5 volt. So I will say when the input is above 3.5 volt, then it will be classified as logic 1. If input is between 0 and 2 volt, it will be classified as logic 0. So this level is called as VIH. The minimum input voltage required for the input to be recognized as high. How much voltage do I require for the input to be considered as high is called as VIH. VOH is the output voltage in the high state. Similarly, we will have VIL. VIL will be the maximum input to be considered low. Okay. So if you see here, maximum low voltage can be 2 volts. So this will be VIL. Similarly, VOL will be the maximum, or VOL will be the output voltage in low state. So we have 4 voltages: VOH, output voltage in high state; VIH, minimum input voltage to be recognized as high by the logic circuit; VIL, maximum input voltage to be recognized low by the logic circuit; and VOL, output voltage in the low state. Okay. So VIL is the maximum input voltage and VIH is the minimum input voltage to be recognized as high. So generally, if you see the order here, VOH will be greater than VIH, will be greater than VIL, will be greater than VOL. Okay. So try to remember the meaning of these terms. Now if we define noise margin is simply, it will again be defined in high state and low state. It will be VOH minus VIH again noise margin low will be VIL minus VOL. So if I want to specify a single value of the noise margin, it will be minimum of these two. What is the minimum of these two values will be considered as the noise margin of the logic family. So again, noise margin is the maximum noise that does not affect the output. It depends on four parameters: output voltage in the high state, minimum input voltage to be recognized as high, maximum input voltage to be recognized as low, and output voltage in the low state. So let us see now how can we find these parameters in the practical scenario by a few example. Like what kind of questions can be framed from this topic. So if we see the first example, here IOH is given as 400 microampere. IOH is the output current of the gate in the high state. Then IIH is the 40 microampere. It is the input current of the gate when the input is high. Next, IOL is minus 16. Here minus 16 indicates that the current direction is reversed. That is, the circuit is acting as a sink instead of a source. Then IIL is 1.6 milliampere. Okay. So if we see the fan out high in the high state will be IOH upon IIH, that will be 10. Then fan out in the low state will be IOL by IIL, that is 16 by 1.6, it will again be 10. And I told you that actual fan out is minimum of fan out in high state and fan out in low state. So it will be 10. Minimum of 10 and 10 will be 10. So this is how we find the fan out of a circuit. For that we need 4 specification. So let us move on to the next problem. Here again I have been given 4 specification: IOH, IIH, IOL and IIL. So again we will calculate fan out in the high state. It will be minus 0.4 by 20. So it will be 20. Then fan out in the low state will be IOL by IIL, that is 8 by 0.1. So it will be 80. Then I know fan out is actually minimum of these two values, that is 20 and 80. So it will be 20. So fan out of this circuit will be 20. But one mistake that you can commit here is try to make sure that your units are correct. Like here, one unit is milliampere and the other is microampere. So this will be 0.4 into 10 raised power minus 3, 20 into 10 raised power minus 6. That is why it is coming out to be 20. Otherwise you may commit an error. So try to take care of the units. Next, let us see an example on the noise margin. So here if you see, a logic family has a threshold voltage 2 volt. Threshold voltage is basically the cutoff voltage between low voltage and the high voltage. It is the threshold, below which we will consider low voltage and above which we will consider high voltage. Next, VOH is given as 4 volt and VIH is given as 3 volt. VOL is given as 1 volt and VIL is 1.5. So we can calculate noise margin in the high state, that will be 4 minus 3, that is 1 volt, and noise margin in the low state, it will be 1.5 minus 1.5 volt. And I know noise margin is basically minimum of these two, 1 and 0.5. So it will be 0.5 volt. So this will be my noise margin. That is, this is the maximum noise that can be added to the system without affecting the output of the system. So such kind of numericals can be asked in GATE for 1 mark question. So you need to remember all these terms. So let us see what we have learnt in this lecture so far. We looked at certain parameters. First was propagation delay. We learned that propagation delay is measured in nanoseconds. It is basically average of high to low propagation delay and low to high propagation delay, and it is used for 50% criteria of the input and output. Next we saw power dissipation. Power dissipation is basically VCC into I average. Okay. Then we saw figure of merit. figure of merit is basically power dissipation into TPD, and I told you I2L logic has the best FOM. Then we saw fan out. Fan out is maximum number of gates that can be connected at the output of a logic gate. Okay, so it depended on 4 parameter: IOH, output current in the high state; IOL, output current in the low state; IIH, input current when the input is high; IIL, input current when the input is low. So we calculated fan out high and fan out low. So fan out was minima of both high fan out and the low fan out. Last term that we saw is noise margin. It is the maximum noise that can be added into the system. So it depended on 4 voltages: VOH, output voltage in the high state; VIH, maximum input voltage when the input is high, minimum input voltage when the input is high; VIL, maximum input voltage when the input is low; and VOL, output voltage in the low state. We calculated noise margin for high state as well as low state. Noise margin was actually minimum of both high state and the low state. So out of this, these fan out and noise margin are important for the gate perspective, but these factors are needed to compare any two logic families. These 5 factors are the basis of comparing two logic families. So in the next lecture, we will start with some of the logic families, and we will see how different gates are implemented in each logic family. Till then, try to get acquainted and comfortable with the terms that we have studied in this lecture. Hello guys, in the last lecture we saw general characteristics of different logic families based on which we will compare different logic families. So in this lecture we are gonna see some of the logic families that exist for different gates, and we will compare the performances and pros and cons of each and every logic family. So before starting with the logic family, first we must understand the operation of transistor as a switch. If you remember, in the combinational circuits I told you that the logic circuits or logic gates can be designed with the help of switches, where we saw some switching circuit for NOT gate, AND gate, NAND gate and all those things. So here also just we replace those switches in terms of transistors, because practically the switches are realized using transistors. So basically first we need to understand how does a transistor operates as a switch, then only we can design the circuits using transistors, diodes and resistances. Okay, so first let us understand the operation of transistor. Here the transistor that we will be referring to is bipolar junction transistor. If you have studied a bipolar junction transistor, we know a bipolar junction transistor has 3 regions. Let us say NPN, emitter, base and collector. These 3 regions are there. It is a 3 terminal device. So basically there are 2 junctions called as emitter base junction and collector base junction. So based on configuration of these junctions, we define the region of operation of the transistor. Okay, so let us say emitter base junction, collector base junction and operation. Okay, if both the junctions are reverse biased, then we say that the transistor is in cutoff region, that is it does not conduct any current. If emitter base junction is forward bias and collector base junction is reverse bias, we call the operation is in the active region. In this region basically my transistor will act as an amplifier. If you have studied amplifiers, then you know that the BJT needs to act in active region for the transistor to work as an amplifier. Next is, if emitter base junction is in reverse bias region and collector base in forward bias, then I call it as reverse active, because the current conducted by the transistor will be in opposite direction as compared to the active region. Okay, the direction of current will reverse in this region as compared to the active region, so it is called as reverse active region of operation. And last, if both are forward biased, then transistor is called to be in saturation. Okay. So this region saturation and cutoff is used for the transistor operation as a switch. So in cutoff region, we call that the switch is off, and in saturation region we call that the switch is on. So transistor operates in two regions, saturation and cutoff, for the switch to be in off state and to be in on state. Okay. So this is how my transistor will operate as a switch. Generally, we apply the signal to the base of the transistor. Low signal to the base of a NPN transistor will say off, and high signal will turn on the transistor. Okay, but these signals are applied to the base of the transistor. So in the logic families or the logic circuits that we are going to study, we will apply the signal at the base of the transistor, and we will take the output at the collector terminal of the transistor. So if we apply a low signal, then transistor will be in cutoff state or it will be off, and if we apply a high signal, then transistor will be in saturation state, or we can say it will be a on state of the switch. So let us see how we can implement certain switching circuits using transistors. So first family that we are gonna see is RTL family. This is basically resistor, transistor, logic. Okay, resistor, transistor, logic is called as RTL. Here the low voltage level is defined at 0.2 volt and high voltage level is defined as 3.6 volt. Okay, so low voltage is at 0.2 volt, that is the maximum voltage to be recognized as low, and 3.6 is the minimum voltage to be recognized as high is 3.6. Okay, because any voltage above 3.6 will be considered as high and any voltage below 2.2A will be recognized as low. The power dissipation of this family is around 12 milliwatt. Okay, and propagation delay of this family is around 25 nanoseconds. So these are certain parameters that you must keep in mind, not the exact values but on a comparative basis. Okay, so when we will see the problems based on this topic, then I'll tell you the questions can be asked which logic is faster or which consumes less power. So at the end we will compare different logic families based on certain parameters, but right now what you need to understand is the functionality of each and every logic family. So let us see some gates that are based on the RTL logic family and understand how do they operate. So first gate is NOT gate. Okay, so if you see here, if I apply a high signal, okay, then this transistor will be in on state. I just told you that a NPN transistor becomes on when it is applied with a high signal. So it will be a NPN transistor. So it will be on when we apply a signal A is equal to 1. If this switch turns on, then we know Y will be connected to ground. So Y will go to 0. If we apply A is equal to 0, then transistor will turn off, that is transistor will be in cutoff region. So this switch will be off. So this Y will be connected to VCC. So Y will be connected to VCC, or Y will be logic 1. So if you see, when A is 1, Y is 0, when A is 0, Y is 1. So this circuit acts as an inverter. This circuit is a NOT gate, or it acts as an inverter. Just you need to remember, whenever a high signal is applied to the base of NPN transistor, it is in saturation state, and whenever a low signal is applied, it is in cutoff state. So transistor is on when a high signal is applied, and it is off when a low signal is applied. If we see next, it is NAND gate. Okay, so NAND gate we implemented something like this. So suppose here again I will say AB, T1, T2 and Y. So suppose if A is 0, B is 0, that means both the transistors will be off. So T1 will be off, T2 will be off, and if both are off, then it will be connected to VCC, so it will be 1. Now when A is off, B is on, so T1 will be off but T2 will be on. But now to connect Y to the ground, both these transistors must be on, then only Y can be connected to ground. So again Y cannot be connected to ground, it will be high. When A is 1, B is 0, then T1 is on but T2 is off. Still one of the transistor is off, so Y cannot get the path to the ground, so Y will be off, or Y will be connected to the VCC. Okay, but when both are 1, that means both transistors turn on, so Y gets a path to the ground, that means Y will go to 0. This is the truth table of a NAND gate. So if you see, I am doing nothing here but operating my transistors as a switch. I am considering each transistor as a switch, and I am determining when my transistor is on and when the transistor is off. That is how we can implement the logic circuits in the RTL family. Let us take one more example. Suppose we consider NOR gate. Okay, so let us see the operation AB T1 T2. So guys, now you must also try to determine the table for this circuit. If 0 0, I know both the transistors will be off. If both are off, Y will be connected to VCC, so Y will be 1. 0 1, then T1 will be off but T2 will be on. If T2 turns on, then Y gets a path to the ground, so it will be 0. Again in case of 1 0, T1 will be on, T2 will be off, so Y will go to ground through this path. And when both are 1 1, then both transistors are on, then Y has both the paths available to the ground, that is through T1 and T2, so it will again be 0. So this is a NOR gate. Okay, just remember, whenever the signal will be high, transistor is on, and whenever the signal is low, transistor will be off. That is how my transistor will act as a switch. Okay. The disadvantages of this logic is it has very low speed of operation because transistor will take lot of time to turn on and turn off. Okay, because when it is in on state, some charge is stored in the transistor. To turn it off, we need to deplete the transistor of that charge. So it takes some time to deplete that charge. That is why the speed of operation or the propagation delay will be high and speed will be lesser. Okay, because time will be consumed while we are trying to deplete the transistor of the stored charge. Next is that noise margin is very low. Noise margin of this circuit is lower as compared to other logic family. And the worst thing is lowest fan out. That is, these sort of gate cannot drive much number of gates. Its fan out is approximately 3. So one gate can only drive 3 gates. But as we see in integrated circuits, there are a lot of gates that are fabricated on a single chip. So we may need to drive more and more number of gates. So this is not at all recommended in such a case. Okay. So that is the problem with this logic. RTL family has less speed of operation, less noise margin, and less fan out. Okay. So all the desirable characteristics are less here, hence this family is not recommended. Next, suppose the transistors or the resistances that were present here have been removed. Okay, in the RTL family, if you remove the resistances at the base of the transistors, then it is called as direct coupled transistor logic. It will be direct coupled transistor logic. Okay, when we have removed the resistances connected at the base of the transistor. Here we have removed the resistances at the base. It is called as direct coupled transistor logic, but the functionality will remain same. That is, the logic functions can be derived the same way. So again, if we derive here like AB, then T1 T2, then Y. Okay, when both are 0, both transistor will be off and Y will be 1. 0 1, T1 will be off but T2 will be on, so Y will be 0. 1 0, T1 will be on, T2 will be off, so Y will be 0. And 1 1, both will be on, so again Y will be 0. So this is simply a NOR gate. Functionality remains the same, but it is just that we have removed the resistances. Now let us see what is the effect of removing those resistances. The basic use of removing the resistances is,
Suppose if I remove the resistances, then I may think that the I square R losses in the circuit may reduce and my power dissipation will go down. Okay, that may be a possible cause of removing the resistances, that my I square R losses will go down and my circuit will become a bit more efficient. But what is the problem that occurs if we remove the resistances is called as current hogging. So current hogging is because the two transistors, okay, the two transistors that are there are not identical. We want identical transistors, but the two transistors can never be identical. So remember, keep one thing in mind, even the transistors that are fabricated at the same time on the same silicon wafer will have different characteristics. No two transistors can be absolutely identical, and this difference in fabrication is exhibited as a slight difference in the characteristics. That is, their corresponding voltages and currents may not be equal and exhibit slight difference from each other. That will be exhibited due to the fabrication difference between different transistors. Okay, so now here different transistors may have different characteristics. That is, there may be different VBE set. Okay, base emitter voltage in the saturation state may be different for different transistors. Okay, so transistor which has lower VBE set will turn on. Okay, and if this transistor turns on, it will never allow the other transistor to turn on. Why? Because it will allow the current to pass through it, so other transistor will never be able to turn on. This is called as current hogging. Okay, because both the transistors should have turned on at the same time, but if one transistor turns on at first, then it will not allow the other transistor to turn on, and this process is called as current hogging. So one transistor which has a lower VBE set turns on first and other cannot turn on. Okay, other transistor cannot turn on in such a case. So this is called as current hogging. This is the problem because of removal of the resistances at the base of the transistor. Okay, let us now move on to the next family, which is called as diode transistor logic. Here DTL refers to diode transistor logic. Okay, because here diodes and transistors both are there. So what will happen is, here we have certain transistors, diodes AB, DA, DB, then D1, D2, T1, and then Y. Okay, Y will be from here, so it will be Y. So suppose if A and B both are 0, then here we have applied 0 voltage, then this diode will turn on. So diode will turn on when the voltage at the cathode of the diode is low. Remember, diode will only turn on when the voltage at the cathode of the diode is low. So these diodes will become on, due to which the voltage here will be low. If the voltage at this terminal is low, these two diodes D1 and D2 cannot turn on. So these will be off. If these are off, that means transistor 1 will also be off, because these will not be supplying any current to the base of the transistor. Till D1 and D2 are turned on, there can be no current going into the base of the transistor, and hence transistor will also be turned off. And we know if transistor is turned off, this output Y will be connected to VCC and output Y will be 1. If A is 0, B is 1, then DA will be on, but DB will be off. Still D1, D2 will be off, because the voltage will be low. So transistor T1 will be off and output Y will be 1. In case of 1, 0, it will be off, this will be on. Still these both will be off, transistor 1 will be off, it will be 1. And in case of 1, 1, here DA will be off, DB will be off, due to which the voltage at this terminal will be around VCC. And if it is high, then this D1 and D2 will turn on, and these will supply current to the base of T1. So T1 will also turn on, and this Y will be connected to ground as soon as T1 turns on. So Y will be 0. So this is an example of a NAND gate. Here this is a basic example of a NAND gate. This is in the diode transistor logic family. Okay. Here this resistance that is connected here is used to discharge the transition capacitance. Okay. It is used to discharge the capacitance of the transistor. Okay. So transistor capacitance is discharged using this resistances. It will form a RC circuit with the capacitance of transistor and it will get discharged. Okay. So remember the operation here, diodes will be forward biased when any of the inputs is low, which will turn off the transistor. That is the only thing that you need to remember. Now the current carrying capability of diode is lesser as compared to the transistor. So if I want higher current carrying capability or higher current, then I must use transistor in place of the diode. So suppose if I replace the transistor diode by the transistor, so this current here, this current increases. Okay, this current is higher, which leads to a higher fan out. Okay, so if we replace the diode by a transistor, then my fan out will be higher. Okay, so that is why here we have replaced diode by a transistor. Okay, so propagation delay of this family is around 30 nanosecond. Power dissipation is around 8 milliwatt. Figure of merit is around 240 picojoule. That is, multiply these two terms, you will get 240 picojoule, and noise margin is around 0.75 volt. Okay. So this is how we can construct the circuits using diodes and transistor. It will be called as DTL logic family. Okay. Next is called as high threshold logic. Here we have replaced the other diode by a Zener diode. Okay, it is called as high threshold family because the voltage at this terminal should be higher than before to turn on the transistor. Earlier, through the diode only 0.7 volt will be the voltage drop, but here to operate the Zener 6.9 volt voltage drop will be there. So the voltage at this terminal should be higher than before to turn on the transistor. Earlier it had to compensate only for the transistor and the diode voltage drop, but now it has to compensate for the Zener diode voltage drop. That is why the threshold or the voltage should be higher. Now it will have to exceed, the voltage should exceed 0.7 for this transistor plus 6.9 for Zener and 0.7 for this. So it will be around how much? 8.3 volt. So voltage has to exceed 8.3 volt. Earlier when there were two diodes like this and one transistor, then 0.7, 0.7, 0.7, then the voltage threshold was 2.1 volt. It had only to exceed 2.1 volt to make the transistor on, but here it has to exceed around 8 volts to make the logic 1 or make the transistor on. Okay, so what are the benefits is it has the highest noise margin. Okay, because here the voltage levels of high and low will be higher, so it will have the highest noise margin, but it is a relatively slower family, so propagation delay is also high. Okay, though the noise margin is high, propagation delay is also high, which spoils its figure of merit. Figure of merit is not that much attractive. Okay, so remember, higher threshold logic means we have replaced the diode by a Zener diode, so voltage has to exceed a higher value to turn on the transistor. Okay, the advantage is it has a high noise margin, but the disadvantage is its propagation delay is also high. That is the high threshold logic. So we have seen diode transistor logic, then we replaced one diode by a transistor to increase the fan out, then we replaced other diode by a Zener diode to increase the threshold or increase the noise margin. So this is all about the diode transistor logic. Let us move on to the next family. The next family is called as emitter coupled logic. So if you see, in these two transistors these emitters have been coupled, and hence it is called as emitter coupled logic. Here these transistors can never go in saturation. Saturation state is not there. These work in active region, and since saturation is not there, this logic is faster. Okay, it is faster than the other logics because the transistors do not enter the saturation stage, and if the transistor enter in the saturation stage, what will happen is a lot of charge is stored in the transistor, and we will need to deplete that charge to turn off the transistor. So it will take more time. In the active region, the charge stored in the transistor is relatively lesser, so it will take less time to turn off. That is why, since these transistors never enter the saturation region, these circuits work faster as compared to the other circuits. So these will work in active and cutoff region. Okay. So these have three stages, or two stages basically. One is the differential amplifier stage. This will be my differential amplifier. Okay. And other will be this common collector or emitter follower. This is the common collector or the emitter follower stage. So it has two stages. One is the differential amplifier stage, and other will be the common collector stage of the logic. Okay. So due to this common collector stage, here we have two types of output. If you see A plus B and A plus B bar. So here we have two outputs, A plus B and A plus B bar. This is due to this differential amplifier stage. The effect of differential amplifier stage is that we have both the outputs of NOR gate as well as OR gate. Okay. Here we are getting double benefit, that we have OR gate as well as NOR gate implemented in a single circuit. The benefit of the common collector stage is higher fan out. Okay. Due to common collector stage, the fan out of the circuit will be high. So the benefit of differential amplifier stage is we get both the complemented as well as the non-complemented output. The benefit of common collector stage is that the fan out of the circuit will be higher as compared to the other circuits. Okay. So remember, here propagation delay will be lesser as compared to other circuit. It is the fastest logic family because it never enters the saturation region. And we saw due to common collector stage, it will have higher fan out. So fan out is around 25. Okay. We see in the RTL logic family it was around 3. Here the fan out is around 25, which is a far better fan out as compared to 3. So it is a very big improvement in case of emitter coupled logic. Okay. But the noise margin is not that great. It is around 0.3 volt. So it is a problem in the emitter coupled logic that noise margin is not very great. Okay. The only good thing is that it is the fastest logic and it has a highest fan out. Okay. It has a higher fan out and it is the fastest logic. That is the benefit with the emitter coupled logic. So remember, whenever you see the name ECL, you must keep in mind that it is the fastest logic family amongst all the logic families. So let us see what we learned today is, we first saw RTL logic family, resistance transistor logic. Here we saw when input is 0, transistor will be off. When input is high, transistor will be on. And based on that, we designed the switching circuits. Next we saw diode transistor logic. Here the threshold voltage was around 2.1 volt as I just derived. And here diode will be on when input is low and diode will be off when input is high. Next we replaced the transistor by diode by transistor, which increase the fan out. If we replace diode by transistor, the fan out of the circuit increases. Then we apply Zener diode, which increase the threshold voltage to around 8 volt. So it has higher noise margin. And at last we saw emitter coupled logic, which had two stages, common collector and differential amplifier. So this provided me both A plus B bar and A plus B due to differential amplifier stage, and due to common collector stage, fan out of the circuit increases. So these are the logic family that we have seen, and these emitter coupled logic always operate in active and cutoff. Okay, so these never enter saturation state, therefore their propagation delay is very less. Propagation delay is the least in case of emitter coupled logic, or we can say emitter coupled logic is the fastest logic family. Okay, so in the next lecture we will see two more logic families called as TTL and CMOS, and then we will compare the logic families based on different parameters and see a few problems that have been asked in GATE from these topics. This topic holds less weightage, but still we need to be aware of the type of problems that can be asked.
Hello guys, in the last lecture we looked at some of the logic families like diode transistor logic, resistor transistor logic and emitter coupled logic. So in this lecture we are gonna continue from there and we'll look at some of the more prominent logic families that are used in chip designing or in the logic design. So first such family that we are gonna see is transistor logic called as TTL. TTL is basically transistor logic. Okay, so if you see here, the first transistor T1 is the multi-emitter transistor. It is a transistor which has more than one emitter terminal. Each emitter is connected to one of the inputs. Okay, so it has more than one emitter, so it is called as multi-emitter input. Okay, this stage is called as phase splitter. Okay, phase splitter. And this output stage where T3 and T4 are connected is totem pole. So it has three stages: multi-emitter stage, then phase splitter, and then totem pole. So what happens is, how does this multi-emitter transistor work? How is it different from any other transistor? So multi-emitter transistor is active when either input is low. Okay, if any one of the input is low, then this multi-emitter transistor will be in active mode, and it will be in reverse active mode when both input are high. Okay, if both of the my inputs are high, then this multi-emitter transistor will be in reverse active mode. What is the reverse active mode? That is, direction of currents will be reversed in this transistor. So let us see what happens. Suppose two inputs are there, A, B, then T1, T2, T3, T4 and Y. Suppose 0, 0, then I know both inputs are low, so it will be in active mode. In active mode, current will be flowing something like this. So this transistor T2 will be off, or we can say cut off. If it is in cutoff, then T4 will be saturation, T3 will be cutoff. If T4 is saturation, Y will be high. Okay, because this T4 will connect Y to the VCC. Then if A is low, B is high, then also since one of the inputs is low, it will be in active mode. If it is in active, T2 will be cut off. If T2 is cut off, T3 will be cut off and T4 will be saturation. In 1, 0, again it will be active, cut off, saturation 1. But when 1, 1, it will become reverse active, due to which T2 will become saturated, due to which T3 will become saturated and T4 cut off. So it will be 0. So this is a simply, which gate it is? It is a NAND gate. Okay. So just remember, if any of the inputs is low to a multi-emitter transistor, then it is in active mode. If both the inputs are high, then it is in reverse active mode. And if it is in active mode, then the transistor connected to the collector of this will be cut off. And if it is in reverse active, then it will be in saturation. Okay, because if this T1 is in reverse active, then current will be flowing something like this. If current is going like this, then this will turn on or it will be in saturation. That is why whenever T1 is in reverse active mode, then it will lead to turning on the T2. Okay. So here we can, at the output stage, we can have different configurations. We can have a simply a resistance connected with Y. We can connect a resistance between VCC and Y. VCC and Y we can connect a resistance. That is called as pull up resistance, because the role of that resistance is to make the output logic 1 or pull the logic up. Okay, if it pulls the logic up or makes it 1, it will be called as pull up resistance. Other thing we can do is open collector, that is we can open the collector of this T4, that will be called as open collector. And the last thing is that we have used here is the totem pole logic. So generally we prefer totem pole logic. Why we use totem pole is because power dissipation is low in totem pole logic, then propagation delay is also low, that is higher speed, and last fan out is high, and last fan out is high. Okay, that is why we prefer totem pole logic, because power dissipation is low, propagation delay is also low, and fan out is high. But the only disadvantage is that it does not provide wired AND logic. Wired AND means if we connect the output of two gates, then it will not behave as a AND gate. Suppose if two gates are connected like this, then if I want to find the output, then this is not the AND. It does not provide wired AND logic, so it means if we connect the output of the two gates directly, then it will not behave as a AND gate in case of totem pole logic. Whereas in case of open collector, it will behave as a AND gate. Such sort of logics are called as wired logic. That is, if wires are connected, then what is the functionality, whether it acts as a AND gate or a OR gate. So in case of open collector, wired logic will act as a AND gate, but in totem pole no such functionality is achieved. That is the disadvantage of totem pole logic. But other than that, we have several advantages if we use totem pole at the output stage of the TTL logic family. So most of the chips that we use in college laboratories are fabricated based on TTL logic family. Okay, you might have seen 74 series, that is 7400 gate, 7402 gate. These are the chip numbers that we use in our college laboratories. Those are all TTL logic family. So what kind of question can be asked? Suppose here Vi is 2.5. We want to know the mode of operation of the transistor. So I know Vi is high, and we know when the input to a multi-emitter or this transistor is high, then Q1 will be in reverse active. If Q1 is in reverse active, that means current will be going something like this. This Q2 will become on, or Q2 will be in saturation. If this Q2 is in saturation, it will turn on this Q3. Q3 again will be in saturation. Turning on Q3 means turning off Q4. So Q4 will be in cutoff. So these will be the modes of operation of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Such kind of questions can be asked based on TTL logic family. Just you need to remember, whenever input to the first transistor is high, it will be in reverse active mode. If input is low, it will be in active region. Okay, and based on that you can find the state of other transistor. Next logic family is MOS logic family. Okay, MOS is metal oxide semiconductor. So the transistors that are fabricated on this are called as MOSFET, metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. So this is a more recent technology as compared to TTL. TTL is now an old technology and it is not used in industries.
TTL is only used in college laboratories. MOS is a better option. So here I have shown two transistors. This is called as NMOS or N-channel MOSFET. It is called as PMOS or P-channel MOSFET. Okay, P-channel MOSFET means holes will flow between drain and source. N-channel MOSFET means electrons will flow between drain and source. So here, if gate signal is high, then it is on, and if gate signal is low, then it is off. This you need to remember for digital. And here, if gate signal is low, then it is on, and if gate signal is high, then it is off. So you need to remember the switching behavior of NMOS and PMOS. Here, depending upon the value of gate signal, the transistors can be turned on and off. Okay. So let us see how we can design logic gate based on these transistors. First is NOT gate. Okay. So here we have used NMOS logic. Both the transistors are NMOS. Now suppose A is high. That means T1 is on. If this T1 is on, then Y gets a path to the ground. If this switch turns on, Y will be connected to ground. That means Y is 0. If A is 0, that means my T1 will be off, due to which there is no such path to the ground, and Y will be high. So when A is 0, Y is 1. When A is 1, Y is 0. This is the functionality of an inverter or NOT gate. Okay. So inverter and NOT gate can be simply implemented like this. Now let us try some other gate. Next is NAND gate. Okay. So here we have two switches connected in series. This will be my Y. Here we have two switches connected in series. So suppose AB, T1, T2 and Y. Okay. If A and B both are 0, then this both transistors will be off, because we need high signal to turn on a NMOS. And if these both are off, then Y will be connected to VDD. It will be 1. Then 0, 1. T1 will be off. T2 will be on. Still Y is not getting a path to the ground. Y can only get a path to the ground if both the transistors are on. So Y will again be 1. 1, 0. It will be on. This will be off. Still there is no path between Y to ground. So again it will be 1. Both 1, 1. That means both transistors are on. Y gets a path to the ground like this. And here it will be 0. So this is a NAND gate. Okay, NAND gate can be implemented something like this. Two switches in series. Okay. So whenever we need to implement NAND gate, we can connect two switches in series. But you remember that whatever logic we create will be inverted logic. Like in last case inverter were getting A bar. Here we are getting Y is equal to AB bar. So basic logic circuits that we will design will be inverted in nature. If you want to create a direct logic, or if you want to create a AND gate, then we have to use NAND plus inverter. That is, here I need to connect one inverter. AND gate cannot be constructed directly. It will be constructed from the NAND gate. So NAND is a more basic gate as compared to the AND gate. These are first some gates that can be designed. It is not that NAND, NOT, and OR are designed, but rather NOT, NAND and NOR are designed. NOT, NAND, NOR, these gates are the basic gates, and based on this we can design other gates. Okay, but with minimum number of transistor only NOT, NAND, NOR gates can be designed. So let us see how NOR gate can also be designed. Here we have connected the switches in parallel. So if we see A, B, T1, T2 and Y, if both are 0, both transistors are off.
that means Y cannot get any path to the ground, it will be high. If A is 0, B is 1, T1 is off, but T2 turns on. If T2 turns on, then it will get a path to the ground, something like this. So Y will be 0, 1, 0, T1 will be on, T2 will be off, so it will get a path like this. So it will again be 0, both 1, 1, both transistors turn on, and Y will be 0. Okay, it will be connected to the ground. So this is simply a NOR gate. So just remember, if we want some operation like A plus B, we will connect the switches in parallel, but the output will be inverted. Okay, basic gates that we construct in this logic family are always inverted. Okay, try to remember this. The basic gates that are constructed are inverted in nature, and just for addition or for OR operation you can connect the switches in parallel, and for AND operation we can connect the switches in series, but the output that will come out will always be inverted. So this is the implementation of gate in the NMOS logic family, because here we did not use any PMOS transistor. The only gates or the only transistors that we used were NMOS. In CMOS logic, what happens is, CMOS is complementary MOS. Okay, which means here we use both NMOS as well as PMOS. So try to recognize how gates can be identified. This is a NMOS. In NMOS, this outward arrow will always be there, and this is a PMOS, so there will be a inward arrow. Okay, so it will be used in pull-up circuit, that is, it will try to pull the logic high. It will try to make the output 1. This will be in pull down, that is, it will try to make the logic 0. Okay, it will try to connect output to ground. It will try to connect output to VDD, so it will try to make the logic 1. So this is my CMOS logic. So here, earlier, like in these gates, here I was using this NMOS for pull up. This NMOS was pulling the logic up or making the logic output 1. But now we will replace this NMOS transistor with a PMOS network so that we can pull the logic high. Okay, so here we are replacing this NMOS transistor with PMOS network. Why? Because here this NMOS that was connected is always on. Okay, this is always on, so power dissipation is higher. But if we use CMOS logic, then either PMOS transistor will be on or NMOS will be on. Both can never be on at the same time, which will lead to less power dissipation. Here, upper transistor or the pull-up transistor was always on. So whenever both the transistors will be on, a higher power dissipation will be there. But in CMOS logic, either the PMOS can be on or NMOS can be on. So it will lead to a lower power dissipation because there cannot be any path between VDD and ground. Here suppose this A transistor turned on. This was on. So there is a path between VDD and ground. So if you see, here it will be a path like this. So if this A transistor is on, a path like this will be present, which can cause the current from VDD to ground. So it will increase the power dissipation. But if there are PMOS and NMOS, then either PMOS will be on or NMOS will be on. So there can never be any path between VDD and ground. That is the power of CMOS logic. Power dissipation will reduce. Okay, so let us see how we can implement using CMOS logic. This is an example of inverter here. Okay, so if we see A, T1, T2, T1 is this PMOS and T2 is this NMOS, and if we see Y. If A is 0, then I know with logic 0 PMOS turns on, so it will be on, but with logic 0 NMOS turns off. Since PMOS is on, this will be connected to VDD. it will be VDD, or let us say this will be high. And if A is 1, then T1 will turn off, but T2 will turn on because NMOS turns on at the high input. So this will connect Y to the ground, it will be 0. So Y is equal to A bar. So now if you see, both the transistors are never on at the same time. So there is no path between VDD and ground. So here power dissipation will be lesser. Okay. So always remember, CMOS logic has minimum power dissipation. Okay. Like yesterday or in the last lecture I told you that emitter coupled logic has the lowest propagation delay. CMOS logic has the lowest power dissipation. That is why nowadays CMOS logic is being used in the industries, because it has the least power dissipation. Let us try to construct one more gate using this CMOS logic. So suppose we want to construct NAND gate. When we were constructing using NMOS, we connected two switches in series like this. We connected two switches in series. Always remember, PMOS network will be opposite of NMOS network. Okay. Here, if in NMOS we are connecting two switches in series, in PMOS these two switches or the complement switches will be connected in parallel. Okay. So just whenever you need to construct any circuit, you need to connect the switches in series or parallel in NMOS and then connect in reverse configuration in PMOS. If switches are in series in NMOS, they will be in parallel with PMOS, and if switches are in parallel at NMOS, they will be in series with PMOS. So let us see how this circuit works. AB, T1, T2, T3, T4 and Y. Suppose both are 0. That means these both PMOS will be on and NMOS will be off. Since PMOS is on, it will pull the logic high. 0, 1, that means T1 will be on, T2 will be off, and T3 will be off, and T4 will be on. Now to connect Y to ground, both T3 and T4 must be on. So here only T3 is off and T4 is on. Both are not on, so Y cannot be connected to ground. But this T1 is on, which will connect Y to the VDD. This T1 is on, so Y will be 1. So next combination, let us take 1, 0. Here if the input is 1, then it is logic high, so T1 will turn off. But due to 0, T2 will turn on. Here T3 will turn on and T4 will be off. Okay. Now since T2 is on, it will also pull the logic output high. Okay. Last, if both are 1, 1, then this both T1 and T2 will be off, and this T3 and T4 both will be on. If both are on, these provide a path of to Y to the ground. So this is a simply NAND gate. So to connect Y to the ground, both the switches must be on, then Y will get a path to the ground and Y will be at logic 0. So this network of NMOS tries to pull the logic down, so it is called as pull down network, and the network of PMOS tries to pull the logic up, it is called as pull up network. Always remember, pull up and pull down network will be connected in opposite configuration. If pull down network has switches in parallel, they will be in series in pull up network. If it has switches in series, then they will be in parallel in the pull up network. Okay. So suppose this question is given. Here we are comparing DTL, TTL, ECL and CMOS family. Okay. So I know where the power consumption is minimum in case of CMOS logic. Okay. Propagation delay is minimum in ECL logic, and fan out is minimum in case of DTL logic. So it will be fan out is minimum, power consumption is minimum, and minimum propagation delay. So option Q will be there. When I told you about DTL,
I told you that its fan out is very low. It is approximately equal to 3. So option Q will be correct. So if we summarize what we studied today is, we looked at TTL logic family, that is transistor logic. It had totem pole output, okay, which reduce the propagation delay, which reduce the power dissipation and increase the fan out, okay. And it had multi-input emitter, which will be reverse active if both the inputs are high. It will be active if any of the inputs is low, okay. Then we studied NMOS logic. We knew we can only create inverted logic, okay. For multiplication or AND operation, we connected the switches in series. For OR operation, we connected the switches in parallel. And last, we saw CMOS logic complementary. Here we knew pull up and pull down network are in opposite configuration, okay. Always pull up and pull down will be in opposite configuration. If switches are in series in pull down network, they will be in parallel in pull up network. If switches are in parallel in pull down network, they will be in series in case of pull up network. That is how we constructed the CMOS circuit. Pull up network was constructed using PMOS and pull down network was constructed using NMOS, okay. So questions are rarely asked from this topic, but you need to remember the salient features of each and every logic family, like ECL has the minimum propagation delay and CMOS has the minimum power dissipation. Other than that, you need to know how to construct logic circuits using CMOS logic family. That I just told you, wherever a product operation or a AND operation is required, you will connect the switches in series, and wherever a OR operation is required, you will connect the switches in parallel. But remember, the output that will arrive will always be with a bar, okay. It will always have a complement at the top. So try to practice some problems based on CMOS logic circuits and the general features of these logic families. Other than that, this is all that can be asked from the logic family, okay. So digital circuits do has a less weightage, around 5 to 6 marks, but it is generally a scoring subject. With a little bit of effort, you can score well in the GATE examination. So never leave this topic, because this will help you immensely when improving your score from, let us say, 50 to 55. This digital electronics will come in handy. And believe me, 5 marks can create a lot of difference in case of GATE ranks.